Next up, let's see her. Oh, there she is. I'll stand back there, and when you see my clipboard, that means 5 more minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Merrymount Association for having this event tonight. I feel like I've come home because I spent so much time in Merrymount over the past several years, as I have lots and lots of family living here. I want to tell you very briefly, I think most of you know me, but I'm going to tell you a little brief history of how I got here. So I am a registered nurse, and I was working at Boston City Hospital when my youngest son, who's the big tall guy in the back there, who now lives in Merrymount, was going to kindergarten, and I was working 3 to 11, and I said, what the heck? They're coming home from school and I'm going to work. So at that point in time, I decided I'd like to try school nursing. So I went from the ICU at Boston City Hospital to school nursing in the age when the school nurse couldn't give Tylenol or do anything. And it was culture shock. So I lasted about 5 days as the school nurse. And then somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, would you be willing to teach nursing at the high school? And I thought, what's the best of both worlds? I love nursing, and I can also impart that knowledge to other people. And there are actually 2 people in the audience here who are students of mine or in the program that I ran at Quincy High School. So I ran the Allied Health Program and the Early Childhood Education Program. And whenever I'm in the city of Boston, used to be Quincy, but even in the South Shore Hospital, I see folks that have come through my program in the past few years, still working in Allied Health in various places and still working in education. Several of our graduates are working in the Quincy Public Schools as teachers. So it's been a very, very enriching opportunity for me to be able to teach. I did that for 12 years, and then I became the Director of Career and Technical Education for Quincy Public Schools. And while I was there, I not only modernized most of the programs, but I also put in some new programs, and I also brought the first robotics program to the high schools, and I put the first Lego League robotics into all the middle schools in Quincy, which is still flourishing today. Still tons of middle school kids are in first Lego League, and the robotics program is still beautiful. As a matter of fact, those 2 programs have expanded the high school requests for engineering. So we now have 2 engineering programs, 1 at each high school, that are direct results of the feed of those programs that came up. So I'm really proud of that. While I was at Quincy High School, I also started the Quincy Evening High School program. We had a significant dropout problem in Quincy. The dropout rate was 4.9%, and it was well above the state average, and the superintendent said to his leadership team, we need to do something about this. So I went and looked at the dropouts, and I realized that all of the dropouts, almost all of them had passed the MCAS, the dreaded MCAS, which you can't get out of high school without. They had passed that, and they were still dropping out of high school. And it was these kids were just completely disenfranchised. We all know them. We all have kids like that in our families. They just don't want to take off their hat. They just don't want you to tell them that they have to take a course they don't want to take because they don't need it, or they just have a couple of courses they need to make up to get their diploma. And we were losing these kids, lots of kids. So I started that program with a grant from the state about 10 years ago. The program is still running, still on a grant from the state, and has graduated hundreds of kids that would have been dropouts. And our dropout rate is now 0.9 in the city. So it had a significant impact, it really did. So I'm very proud of that. After I became the director in Quincy, I joined the Board of Education's Advisory Committee for Career and Technical Education. And that gave me access to career and technical education programs across the state. And one of the things we did is we put in statewide articulation agreements so that students and schools would not have to navigate and negotiate that by themselves. So I worked with a team of people from the community colleges and the career and technical education world, and we put statewide articulation agreements in every single junior college in community college in the state, so kids can get those credits right away. I also testified several times at the legislature about special needs issues and CTE issues. When I went to Boston, besides doing the career and technical education, I became in charge of all the students who needed to transition, which means students between the ages of 18 and 22 who are non-diploma bound and needed some assistance moving on to the next phase of their life. So I worked with those students, probably was the joy of my life to work with those students, and we made sure that they had some employability skills and also some social skills and life skills so that they could move on to the next phase of their life. And so many of those students go on and do great things too, given the right opportunity. When I got to the school committee, the first thing that I realized was that I was like at my second meeting, and we were having this meeting, we were talking about lots of stuff, and I was looking at the subcommittees, and the subcommittees were safety and security, policy, transportation, health, nothing really that I wanted to do, to tell you the truth. So I said, we don't have somebody that looks at teaching and learning? And the superintendent said, no. What do you mean? I said, like a subcommittee that looks at teaching and learning. So I started the first subcommittee on teaching and learning, which has done, and it's not all my work, believe me. My colleagues on the school committee, and actually I want to recognize Kathy Hubley's here. Kathy's not looking, but she is here. Kathy Hubley, my colleague from the school committee. The work that's done on that committee is incredible. They look at every school, every program, all the data, what the outcomes are. They look at the assessments. They review curriculum with the curriculum department, and the amount of work on that committee is phenomenal. But they do a great job with it. So it's really, really, really exciting. The other thing I did when I was first on the school committee, money was just coming back after the horrendous cuts we took in the 5 minutes. The horrendous cuts we took in 2008. The money was just starting to come back. And I said to the superintendent, we need to get the libraries back in the middle school. And he said, libraries. They don't do anything. It's check in books and check out books. And I have a daughter-in-law who's also here, who's a librarian. And she told me the exciting stuff she was doing in her school in California. And I said to her, are you crazy? That's not what librarians do. So Mary suggested that I go over to Simmons and talk to the people there. So I went to Simmons College because they have a master's program in library science. And I went to Simmons College and I said, where can I find the best middle school libraries? Because I'm going to bring the superintendent. And they said, go to Newton. So I took the superintendent on a ride and we drove over to Newton and we visited 2 of their middle school librarians and he was blown away. And I want to tell you that right now we have middle school librarians in all of our schools. So that's thank you to Mary Rugg, Lebo, and also thank you to the superintendent. And I'm telling you, thank you. The libraries are a phenomenal need in our schools, and they do great things with the kids around the media access and stuff. They really do a really good job. So that's one of the other things that I'm really, really proud of. This is a small thing I'm going to tell you about that I insisted upon. I really drove the superintendent crazy on this one, but he came around without a lot of pressure. And Quincy Public Schools has thousands of employees. The city of Quincy is a great employer. I want everybody here to hear that. If you work for the city of Quincy, you get a pension. You get a pension if you work for the city of Quincy. You retire from the city of Quincy, you get a pension. There's not too many places you can get that anymore. It's a great employer. The problem was in Quincy that you didn't know if there was any jobs available. I'm not talking about the teaching jobs. They're all posted on School Spring. You need a license to get those jobs. But there are more than 1,000 jobs in clerical work, in custodial work, in paraprofessional work, and the paraprofessionals do some great education work. No jobs have ever been posted anywhere in the city of Quincy. None of those jobs are posted. I said, how do people get those jobs? Word of mouth. So if you work there, you tell people a job's open, they get the job. But there was nothing ever posted. Nothing. Well, I want you to know that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, all the jobs are posted on the Quincy Public Schools website for any employment that's available in Quincy Public Schools. So our residents of the city can apply for it and get those jobs. That's not true on the city side, so the next time you talk to the city councilors, you might want to push that agenda item for me. As I said, I'm invested. I have 6 grandchildren who will be attending the Quincy Public Schools. 2 starting next week, 4 started this week at 4 different schools. They're in the background. My sons all went to the Quincy Public Schools, and their children are going. And we now have cousins, baby cousins. So we're still very, very invested. So we have a 3-month-old, 4-year-old, and then the other kids are a little older than that. But Tommy's at Broadmeadows. So as I said, I think you guys know me because I've been around here, hanging around Merrymount Park. As a matter of fact, if I had 1 more minute, I want to say one more thing. I was at a fundraiser, an ice cream social I was doing. It wasn't a fundraiser at Southern Artery. And a woman came up to me and she looked at my brochure. I thought she wanted to tell me how great looking my grandkids were. She's pointing at this picture. She said to me, where did you take that picture? I said, oh, Merrymount Park. And she said, oh, my name is Mumford. Her husband opened the shack first, Mafia. Yes. And she said, my husband was responsible for opening the shack several years ago. And she knew Mary's grandparents, Warren Rugg and his wife.
Nancy Moscatelli, is she still alive? No, she's died.
Mafera. Oh, that's right. She said, it sounds like mafia. Mafera. That's what she said to me. She said, they'll know me. It sounds like mafia. So her husband was instrumental in starting the shack. And what a great lady she is. So she was so excited by the picture. Not so much the kids, but by the tree. I don't know how she recognized it because it doesn't look that clear to me. But anyway, so I'm hoping to get back on the school committee. I love the work. I am the most experienced person. I'm a licensed teacher. I'm a licensed administrator. I'm a licensed nurse, if that helps. But I am, seriously, I love the work. I'm completely committed to it. I am a career educator, not a career politician. I'm not good at I'm not good at campaigning, but I've been walking the streets, knocking the doors, dropping the leaflets, talking to as many people as I can. I'm very, very approachable. The teachers approach me all the time. I work very well with the teachers in Quincy. Having been one, I love the teachers in Quincy, and having been a parent and now a grandparent and a grandaunt, I'll be doing as much work for you as I can. So I appreciate your vote, your consideration for a vote in November.